Back in the year 1967, a book about the small railway was being published. It had the stories about how Doug helped make their railway have more attention, Bert's experience with two photographers, Mike's adventure with his whistle and then losing it, and Rex's time when he had a crazy accident. They were very excited. Not long after their true stories happened in real life, the railway had a new engine named Frank. He's as small as them, and yet he's not even a steam engine. In fact, he's a diesel engine. But the four engines still work very hard together and make sure their railway runs properly. When the day for the book to be published came, they were very excited. But Frank was the most excited, even though he wasn't on the railway when the book was being written.
Oh, this is going to be very exciting. I wonder if I'm going to be in it. That would be even better.
The other engines looked at each other, trying to think of how to explain to him. But thankfully, Fergus Duncan, the small controller, spoke to him about it.
I'm afraid you won't, Frank.
What? Why not?
Well, you weren't here when the events happened, so it wouldn't make sense for you to be all of a sudden be in it for no purpose. Plus, the Reverend doesn't know who you are since you barely came to this railway. Maybe the next time he writes a book about this railway, he'll know exactly who you are, and then you can be in the next book.
But Frank didn't like the sound of any of what Fergus Duncan just said. It got him into a very bad mood. The next day, his driver tried to get him to start for the day, but he wouldn't move at all.
Come on, Frank. What's the matter with you?
Well, it's just not fair. Why can't I just be in the book? The passengers will only pay attention to the others, but not me.
Oh, come on, Frank. It's about teamwork on this really matters, not about a book.
I don't care. I just want to be in one.
Then there was trouble. Frank started all of a sudden and went backwards all the way to the back of the shed. Luckily, no one was hurt, but the back of the shed he was in now has a crack on it. He felt very silly. He felt even more silly when Fergus Duncan came to the sheds to check out the damage he'd caused. He was cross with Frank and told him to start working right away while he checks the sheds to make sure it's safe. Meanwhile, that afternoon, Rex was taking passengers in a really heavy train. The guard blew his whistle, and Rex set off. He didn't think the train was too heavy for him until they came to a hill. His driver was paying attention to the steam gauge to make sure it didn't go over the red spot and cause any trouble.
Everything seems to be okay. Rex, maybe there won't be any trouble after all.
But he was wrong. Rex felt more and more exhausted by the time they reached the bottom of the hill. By the time they made it to the next station, he was very tired and had no more steam left. So his driver called for help from the phone that was in him. In fact, all the small engines now have phones in them in case of an emergency. And this was before cell phones were even invented.
Rex is out of buff. He can't go any further. Can you send some help for us, please?
Of course we can. Don't bother moving an inch.
Ha ha, very funny. Of course we won't move. I don't have any steam left in me.
Chill out, Rex. He's only joking.
A few minutes later, Bert and Frank came to help Rex in his train. Rex's driver apologized for the train running late to the passengers, but they didn't mind. For a minute, they thought they had to walk.
You know what I think we need? Another engine. I don't think 4 is enough on this railway.
I quite agree with you, Bert. We're overworking ourselves out.
Rex was uncoupled to the train, and Bert took him to the shed since it was now safe to go in there, while Frank took the passengers to the next station. After he made it to the station, he told Fergus Duncan about what happened. He was surprised and was thinking to himself out loud.
sounds like we need a new engine to help us right away.
That's exactly what Bert said. The only question is, though, who will it be?
That's a good question. We'll just have to wait and see.